Welcome to Graham Kerr's Kitchen. It's really two programs in one. This is a series that appeals to your creative side. Food that is sumptuous stuff. How can that be? This is a program about people who want to eat healthy and reduce calories. Actually, it's about food with an aromatic quality that fills the nose. Oh, sure, but it's also about keeping my arteries clean by reducing fat. But it doesn't mean a thing if the food isn't rich and colorful. Maximize the flavor. Okay, but I must have healthy food that I can cook in minutes. I must minimize the risk. So welcome to Graham Kerr's Kitchen, where we get our heads together just for you. Well, I'm thrilled to have you back again. I'll tell you the reason why, because this season, what I'm going to do is techniques, yes, sure, they're going to be tucked into the food as we go along. But the real thing is a basic method of cooking. And I'm going to deal with pan frying and sauteing and steaming. And steaming is today. And you know, the big thing about steaming is, I don't know whether you're like this, but as a child, I used to be able to be terrorized when they said, we'd steam vegetables, oh gosh, and they were so soggy. They sort of smooched out on the plate. And it was, you know, eat up your vegetables. And it was terrorized stuff. But that's not what this is about. This is about getting vegetables so that they're almost as though they're pasta, al dente, just at the point of perfection. And I've got a little twist in the middle of this dish, which is really sensational with vegetables, okay? Now, as with everything, I'm going to do this season round a plate. I'm going to draw it out and give you a complete plateful of food. In this case, a very light touching of green, because there's going to be a wedge of cabbage, which is going to take just 5 minutes of steaming. And then here, a much darker Swiss chard or bok choy, what I call a papoose, and you'll see what that's done. And that takes about 14 minutes to be able to cook all together. And then to put a splash of color into that, I've got a broiled, well, it's not broiled actually, I'm going to steam everything in this case, of tomato there, a beefsteak tomato, and those will give that dash of color on the top. And then just a little twiddle of cheese. Well, you have to come up with new measurements when you're like me, you know, with the fat content. And this is just wisps of cheese, or twiddle, I like that. Little twiddles of cheese put over the top, and some freshly ground black pepper. We'll just touch that every now and again with little pepper all over the top. And it looks terrific, looks really good, tastes wonderful. There is an amazing flavor that comes from the inside. I'm not even going to let you know what that's about, all right? Come on, let's have a go. Okay, now when you're steaming, you might have seen those marvelous bamboo efforts which they stack and stack and stack up like this. Well, they can harbor all kinds of stuff, and you don't use them very often. They can actually come alive. I've actually put one together which is stainless steel, and this is, I call this a stack and steam, so this will show you how this works. But you can find these all over the place nowadays. It's becoming the method of cooking. All right. Now, water on the go, just come to the boil, but let me show you the basic ingredients that go into it. First of all, a Yukon potato. Now, it doesn't have to be a Yukon, it can be a new potato, but these are so splendid. If you can find one, they're yellow. They're sometimes called a yellow Finnish potato, as in Finland. And this is an Apollo carrot. It looks as if it sort of gets shot out of the ground, but an Apollo, the winged messenger, this is the sweetest of the carrots that you can get. Now, I know it's a bit hard. You go into a store and say, I want an Apollo carrot. But look for a long, slender, thin carrot and nick one and eat a piece of it and just say, well, don't nick it. I mean, tell them to put it on your check when you pass out. But, and then here is a sweet potato, all right? Small sweet potato, the king of all the root vegetables. And then I'm using this type Swiss chard, but you could use bok choy as well. A whole range of green vegetables. Yeah, let's put that on one side and get this actually started. These are organic. You can tell that by the holes in them. And what you do is you simply rinse them off very well, first of all, and just cut off the stalk end. And then you've got 8 large leaves, and 8 is an important number for this if you're going to do it for 4 people. So 8 large leaves. Lift this off the top. And by the way, this doesn't work in my pan here, but normally if you've got an absolutely flat-based pan, you can put some marbles in the top like this. And if it runs short of water, they start rocketing around all over the bottom. In this case, I've got a special textured base to the pan so as to stop the stuff coming off. And they settle down nicely on the top and they don't move, so it doesn't work. But okay, put on the first base here and just pop those in. They don't have to be seasoned at all. Just put on there and put the lid on tight. Just let's get that heat right up to the top. And that takes about 3 minutes. Now, when you've got the stalks out of here, just cut those down through the top and then just whiz a knife blade through the stalk so that they're nicely chopped up. I don't actually want to cook those. I want to put those with other ones and throw those in at the very last moment, so a real crunch, because you need aroma and color and texture if you're going to get rid of the salt and the fat and you know, the mouthfeel of meat. In this case, it's going to be very little meat, but just nice crunchiness in that. Okay, so that's on the go. Now let's have a look at this Yukon Gold and a really interesting technique here. If you're starting to cut things for the first time, it's not a good idea to have the potato in its just straightforward rounded stage, but to make just a few little incisions down on the outside of the potato, first of all, just to be able to get it onto a firm base, so that you can then cut through like that, and then turn it like this, and then cut through again, about 4 times, well, 3 times for, you know, nice, even little shapes. And it all holds together perfectly. And then you can, let me see, oh, I bought a game like this for my grandchildren at Christmas, and they were so good at it, and I lost every time. Okay, good. And then you can place that down there. It saves it from rocking around all over the spot, and you get some fairly decent, even-shaped pieces. And it looks wonderful inside this papoose when they're properly done like that. Okay, now I've got 3 medium-sized potatoes altogether, and so the other ones were done. So just 3 medium potatoes. And at this point in time, you can put this on, and I'm actually going to put this onto the top of this one, so that this is a good idea of how you stack and steam things. It's going to take 3 minutes to get that charred just to the point of being limp enough for me, but it's going to take me 14 minutes to be able to cook all the vegetables, so I'm going to put that one on to begin with. And the potato takes just a little bit longer than the carrot does. Okay? An Apollo carrot, the sweetest of all the carrots in the United States. And I'm terribly sorry, you chaps in England, but I really don't know whether they've got Apollo ones or not. But there's the way of thinking. Every European that I've ever met always says the carrots are so much better in Europe than they are in the United States. So I just wanted to say, hi, you know, Apollo, that's the one. Okay, now, those go on after a couple of minutes. You just shoot on the carrots onto the top. And now, sweet potato. This thing is remarkable. In a contest that was held, the sweet potato wins. It is the vegetable of all vegetables. It has just teeming with stuff, especially those things which minister to cell integrity. Get your cells reproducing themselves the way that they were always supposed to. That's a medium-sized sweet potato. Just chuck that in on the top. If you can do that, and then get what's called a free radical. You know, it sounds like somebody who blows up a building, but free radicals who breathe in, they're not a good idea, and they oxidize food. And we need antioxidants inside us to come and go like this. Well, that sweet potato is just the best one of all. Okay, a little bit of nutmeg on the surface, and just freshly ground nutmeg. This is an old-fashioned thing, but it works very well. It also gives you a manicure at the same time if you don't want to. And just all over the top, about 1/4 teaspoonful. How do you know that, Graham? I don't know. It's just after a number of years, you just keep on grating away and you know. And of course, if it's too much, I'll find out. And I will tell you. Little freshly ground black pepper. Always, it's not a fetish with me, you know. If you're going to make beautiful food, it has to be well seasoned. And freshly ground pepper is so wonderful. It's got an aroma all of its own. And sea salt, just ground up at the last moment and put in. About 1/8 of a teaspoonful goes on top. Okay, so now that we can put on the top surface. So now everything is steaming. It's all coming up inside. And we're getting very close to the 3-minute mark. As a matter of fact, I think it's just about there. So let me take that off, this one out, this one on, and this is good aerobic exercise at the same time. Good. All right, now, after, I just wanted this to literally wilt a little. I'm going to lay it on the plate there because the stalks I want to be able to bend in order to be able to make the sort of wrapping around the rest of these vegetables. All right. Now, bring this back and you come to the other. Remember the wedge of cabbage and the tomato on it? This is about as simple as you can actually get. And it's a great vegetable anyway. You know, even if you were going to do something with a bit more meat in it and didn't want to go to the degree that I'm going in terms of the vegetarian sort of look towards this dish. Look at this one. Just a touch of salt on the top, and see how the cabbage is cut in wedges here with a thick center part of the cabbage removed. That salt is just going to drizzle down in between those veins there. A little bit of pepper over the top too. No nutmeg in this particular case. Nutmeg over the root vegetables really goes well. Then take a tomato here, a beefsteak tomato, and beefsteak, large, rich, red one, ripened on the vine if possible. And this one, it looks as if it's too nice to be organic, but you know, they all sort of, it's warts and all with the organic stuff. And here we've got, just take a knife blade and just cut into it like so, and take a sprinkling of fresh dill and just lay that on the top, and once more, a little bit of pepper over there, and just a touch of salt. Just a touch. Oh, lovely. And then squeeze it and press it so that the fresh herb and the seasoning go down into the center, just a little bit. Place that in the middle. A little bit more dill over the top of the cabbage there, and that's ready to go on in a minute or two. So this is doing well here. So, tell you what. Before we get all of this on, I'd like to take you off, and this is a new thing, to a local store and have you see the kind of selections that you can make. Okay? Ready for the first one? Here we go. Thanks, Graham. Oh, wait. Just to catch us up on this one, you know what we're doing here, so that when you're shopping and you pass by and you're sort of plodding along with your basket, you see it and you know what you're going to get, and you never give a second thought to some of this stuff here. I want to show you because there's a love affair that can be between you and this food. You ready for this? This is greens, and of course we're wrapping things in greens. And I'm using this one, which is the bok choy, and that's what it looks like when you actually come into the produce. Lovely, sweet, sort of innocent kind of stalk here, and great tasting leaves. This is one which can be variously called. This is a red chard. This is Swiss chard is the plant here. And this one can be called strawberry chard in some places. This one here, of course, curly kale. Watch it, rinse it well because it gets a lot of grit. This is beautifully done, by the way. There's no grit in that one at all. Ha! See, it's raining. And then some spinach. I happen to like spinach. People make a lot of silly, stories about spinach, but it's a wonderful plant. And this one, mustard greens. If you like Creole food in some sort of way, it's got a bite to the green to it. It's got a little bit of mustard kick to it. It's really nice. And collard greens, black-eyed peas and collard greens and pot liquor and all that stuff. This is the stuff that really does it. Matter of fact, it's I thought as far as children are concerned, they don't like this stuff. Not necessarily. This shouldn't be cooked to death. If you cook this and put it into a steamer, it takes just 4 minutes of steaming and it can be ready. And one thing I've noticed with children is that if you cut the leaf into very fine slivers like this, called a chiffonade in French, then they can take it much easier. In fact, put that into some whipped potatoes, and it's a nice combination. Okay, and do this. Steam some Swiss chard, you know, the red chard here. I feel like a recipe show. Just lift that up. Press it between two plates. Lift it out. The red specks in there. It's amazing, actually. If you can get your kids turned on to this kind of food, what a wonderful future life they've gotten. By the way, if you happen to be young at the moment, tell mother. You know, next time you're passing by here, don't reach for the sugar-floated flakes over there. Reach for the green stuff. Okay, back to you, Graham. Well, thank you very much. Neat. Really neat. By the way, the bok choy that was mentioned is a great vegetable for doing this whole thing, but I chose Swiss chard because it's more available this time of year. Okay, right. Now, I just popped these on just to make sure that they were cooked in time, and they're doing fine. They've had just a couple of minutes, and they've got another 3 minutes to go. Right, now, get out a hot bowl from the oven. And it is a good idea to make sure it's a hot bowl. I'll tell you the reason in a moment. And then just lift off the top segment and holding in the base, because in this case, there's always, in this particular dish, there's always the problem of the loose bottom in the steamer here. So I always hold it in like that and make sure that it's all that beautiful and just al dente. Perfect. Okay, put this one back on once again, and that just finishes off so that everything is perfect. Now what to do in here, because this is the really staggering stuff. Here is Canadian bacon, and I always buy Canadian bacon in a piece like this one. Trim the fat off it, keep it in a self-sealing bag, and then cut that into just tiny little pieces, whispers of pieces. Now there's exactly 3.5 ounces there, well 4 ounces actually, 1 ounce per person that you're going to serve that to, so you can stir that in. And then I've got this, which is the cheese side of it. All right? Now instead of a cheese sauce, which is enormously high in fat, nearly 12 grams of fat, this is right down. This is a Parmigiano Reggiano. Now this is the American wedge, and this is American made, and this is the classic one from Italy, the Parmigiano Reggiano. This must be called Parmesan and US made. It is half the price of the Italian. Try the two, one against the other. Buy 1/4 pound of each and make your own decision. I'm only using 1/4 cup and sprinkling that into the top for hand. This is when things get really interesting. With 4 teaspoonfuls here of horseradish. And horseradish is, in fact, just as with the other foods here, a cruciferous plant, so it also is very good from a cell integrity point of view. And 4 teaspoonfuls of Poupon mustard, you know, that's the French mustard. Stir that around together and put 2 tablespoonfuls of freshly chopped dill or dill weed. You can use dry dill if you like. And pop that into the top. Now look at that. Just imagine what that feels like. It is just a knockout. You can leave out the Canadian bacon if you want to make it a completely vegetarian dish if you like. Okay, now we'll have a look and see what happens with the bok choy leaves. Look at this. You take a bok choy leaf and you just lay it into the top of a small bowl like that. Now the bowl should hold about 6 ounces. And just lay the other one in on the top. So you've got 2 large leaves, all right, per person. Then you get this mix, which is now perfect. Look at the colors of it, and imagine what it feels like with the horseradish, which is tangy. And this is just spread down into the top. You then do the papoose thing, which is you just wrap it up, press it down, and get yourself a hot plate with a hot. If you move fast enough, it's all right. And then turn this upside down onto the plate. See? There's your papoose. Then all you need to do is just to reach in to the steamer and bring out that perfectly green and perfectly cooked piece of cabbage. This is the whole big thing about this. This is perfection. And then nestle that up against there, take the leaf off the top, and just a little cheese dusted over the top, and a little black pepper, and take it and eat it immediately, okay? Come on. Okay, well, let's have a look and see how this compares. First of all, to the drawing. Let's put it round this way. There's the papoose and the layout. I just used the one tomato instead of the two. And if it's a larger one, of course, it takes that extra time. Okay, let me see. Put it round that way, it looks nice. All right, now let's compare the two. This is the classic. Now the classic is corned beef, a cheese sauce, and is really lovely. I mean, I really like it, but it is a little high. Now, our dish is actually going to be compared now from a numbers point of view. So this was it. Within 14, 15 minutes of cooking time, you should be able to get that done, and that's surely a good time. All right, 1,360 calories there, 344, nearly 1,000 down. Only 4 grams of fat, 118 carbohydrate, now down to 65, good news for people with diabetic. 57% of calories from fat down to only 11%, which is very good news. 360 down to 16 in cholesterol, and 687 down on sodium, which was just enormous, largely because of the corned beef, of course. All right, quick little notch into here. And when you cut through it, you dig into the center and you find this wonderful papoose of vegetable. Oh, don't forget the little Swiss chard bits there, by the way. I left them out, so don't you forget them. Okay, don't forget, springboard and have fun. It really helps. Boy, I'll tell you what, you get a real mouthful of flavor with that poupon mustard and with the horseradish combined together, just slipping over the top with a little hint of dill in there. And as I said, don't forget the little bit of Swiss chard stalks. Okay, now, you might have noticed recently that the government has been producing, and people all over the world, by the way, have been producing this one, food pyramids, as an idea of trying to teach us something about how to get our food in 4 different kinds of groups. And it's a jolly good idea, especially putting fats and oils, you know, at the top there, and we want to cut that down. But I had an idea the other day. You know, I'm not a farm, and you may not be a farm. You may be a farmer, and I'd like to be a farmer, but I'm not a farm. I'm not a raw material that has to be shunted around in somewhere. I'm a consumer. And I have attitudes as far as my food is concerned. And I got to thinking, maybe I have 4 attitudes. And I just wanted to share this with you. And I'll share some of the other attitudes with the other programs. But this time, for variety's sake, I think that one of the things that you really like about food is variety. And it's not variety like we're going to have fish today, or we're going to have pork, or we're going to have veal, beef, or whatever. We always get fixated by the main meat dish. I don't know where you are, but I know. So I thought what would be interesting is if I got my variety by looking at fruits and vegetables instead of just meat. So from a variety point of view, I've developed this thing which I call the plate. And we have variety, comfort, creativity, and satisfaction. Those are the 4 things that I like about food. But for variety, first of all. And everybody's saying nowadays between 5 and 9 half-cup measures, okay, of fruits and vegetables per day. Okay, well, let's see what that means. This is an actual half-cup measurement. So you can see roughly what's involved in that. Now, I had 2 half-cup measure, a full cup of tomato there. I had 2 of cabbage, and so that's then 4. And I also had the papoose, which was about 3 cups. I had really 7 servings of vegetables all in one dish there. And if you wanted to be able to take out the little bit of meat there, was just 1 ounce per head, you'd be left with a real meal. I mean, there's 12 ounces of vegetables for you, just in that one real dish. And it's so colorful and aromatic and attractive that you can get lots of variety. You know what you get in there at the same time? You get vitamin E, vitamin A, selenium, and beta-carotene. These things really fight for your individual cells in your body and those people that you love. Go on, do yourself a favor. Have a go at it, okay? Well, I'll tell you what, next time we'll take another one of these basic methods and put aroma and colour and texture around it and a lot of creativity, hopefully, so as to get you started on the way. And if you enjoy this kind of food, have fun. Enjoy it with your friends. God bless.